the Russo Japanese War, a war that started because of two nations wishing to expand and take over Manchuria. Japan wanting it for resources and supplies, and Russia wanting it for the expansion of their transcontinental railroad. The Russo Japanese War started in 1904 on the 8th of February, when Japan landed a surprise attack on the Russian ships at Port Arthur. Russia, led by Nicholas II, decided that they would go to war. About a month after the attack on Port Arthur, Japan was quick to take over nearby countries, with Japan sending an army to Korea, who quickly took over the country. Japan knew the more countries they took over, the stronger their army would be, and the more resources that they would gain. On the 18th of April, 3 Japanese divisions attacked across the Yalu River. The battle results were 5,000 Russian casualties and 2,000 Japanese casualties. The number of casualties were growing for Russia, with Japan only being half the amount of Russia. The people of Russia were not happy with Nicholas. On May the 24th, Japan had their 4th Division Army under the command of General Garwin Mataji attack the town of Chinchao. Even though they were fighting with only 400 men and weaponry in extremely poor conditions, they still attempted to break down the walls of Chinchao. Unfortunately, both their attempts were failures. But fortunately for Japan, on the 25th of May, Japan's 1st Division attacked independently and took over the town. From here, Japan could push further to their main target, which was Russia. They planned to attack the Russian forces on Nanash Hill. The attack was postponed till the next day due to heavy thunderstorms. On May 27th, Japan attacked Russia with all 3 of their divisions, but they were no match for Russia, with their maximum machine guns and barbed wire obstacles. This resulted in a heavy loss for Japan, for they didn't have as many men as Russia, nor did they have the machinery to be able to compete with theirs. In late July of 1904, Russia and Japan moved towards Ta-Shi-Chiao. At this point, Russia was vulnerable due to the temperatures reaching 34 degrees, and their suits were not designed for that kind of weather. So many soldiers collapsed due to them suffering heat stroke. The Russian general was becoming very nervous and was unsure whether or not to withdraw the army, but decided not to until dark. Japan tried to take advantage of this by attacking at noon, but later regretted it after the heavy loss of casualties due to Russia's strong use of artillery, for their guns had a longer range and higher fire rate. A year later, in 1905, on the 27th to 28th of May, in the Tsushima Strait, Russia was fighting up against Japan, who was also fighting North Korea. The Japanese army executed around 1/3 of the Russian army. This battle was also known as the First Naval, in which wireless telegraphic radio was also used, which also did play an important role in communication. Later on that year, President Roosevelt, the only president of the United States to ever intervene in a war that didn't involve America, made Russia and Japan sign a treaty known as the Treaty of Portsmouth. Many believe that it was Russia who was at loss, but the loss was more so on Japan's side, who had a heavier loss on the financial, economical, and territorial side of things. When the treaty was signed, many people in Japan felt that they were very restrained, since their 2 requirements were not met. The United States, actually supporting Russia, denied Japan's requirements, so Japan made very little territorial gain when they hoped for the whole island of Sakhalin and instead got half. Another one of Japan's requirements was monetary reparations, which was also denied, since the US had sided with Russia. Roosevelt knew if Japan did not sign the treaty, it was going to be an extremely heavy loss on them. Because of Russia's transcontinental railroad, if Japan did not sign the treaty, Russia would be able to easily outnumber Japan, since the railroad would be able to transport artillery and soldiers at a faster rate, so they would be quickly outnumbered and would have suffered an extreme loss. The Russo Japanese War ended on the 5th of September 1905. Due to political alignment and perspective, many historians may change who won the war, and so many people in countries such as Australia are taught that it was Japan who won the war, when really it was Japan who were the ones that lost.